So welcome to FitMitTuro Fitness Podcast. Today's episode, I have a guest, Chase Smith, who is a health fitness coach himself, and he have a quite an amazing story about his own health fitness journey. He was weighing almost 400 pounds, lost over 100 pounds, or I don't know accurate numbers. So let Chase tell a little bit more about his journey. But first of all, welcome to FitMitTuro Fitness Podcast, Chase, and just a quick introduction: who you are, where you are living, what you are doing, and then let's get into conversation.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate, being able to come on here and, spread this message to your guests and such. And a little bit about me, I'll try to keep it as short as I can. I feel like, the story keeps expanding more and more, but I'm Chase. I grew up in Virginia my entire life. Now I'm in Garden Rapids, Michigan. And a little bit kind of keeping the long story short, basically, as you mentioned, I was near 400 pounds. I had struggled with my weight my entire life, tried all the yo-yo diets, tried them, you name it. I've probably tried it: keto, intermittent fasting, Atkins, low fat, low carb, Nutrisystem. I was trying diets since I was like probably 12 or 13 years old, basically. And every year would try to lose weight and never would succeed just because it was, it was too restrictive for me. And also had a very unhealthy relationship with food, struggled with binge eating and things like that. And up until 2019, then a friend and coworker at the time, she challenged me to a weight loss challenge. And she was just like, I want to lose weight. You want to lose weight. Like, let's do this together and hold each other accountable. And honestly, to be honest with you, like, I really thought it was just going to be like another just, fad diet kind of thing. And I started with intermittent fasting and thought that was the way that was the thing I had to do at that time. And but quickly realized, like, with the extra accountability of having her help me with this, and we were both doing it together, we were able to hold each other accountable throughout this process. And I did intermittent fasting pretty early on, realized it wasn't necessary, started learning more about nutrition and what involved with weight loss and the calorie deficit and all these things. I started learning like the basic principles of it all, and actually met up with a coach in April of that year. And I did not start working with him until later that year, but even before then, he started helping me out with a lot of that stuff. And by the end of the year, I had lost over 100 pounds and, was feeling amazing, just like a whole new life, whole different perspective on life, basically. And since then I've, had many ups and downs. I definitely won't say that, this journey has been 100%, rainbows, unicorns kind of thing. It's definitely had its challenges here and there, but, we've worked through them all, and continuing to work through them as well. And, I've gone through different phases of, different, fat loss and maintenance. And, I've had some struggles even with like some binge eating throughout the, past couple of years as well, that have kind of relapsed and come up. So work through those. I've worked with a binge eating coach for a little bit of time. Currently going to therapy and things and working through all the things. Basically, I think I think it's just important to note that as great as it's been and as much progress as I've made, we're also human and we still have the struggles here and there as well. And then most recently, probably the latest thing in my fitness journey has been I've gotten into powerlifting. I started doing that last year in July, and I just had my first competition about a month ago. And just, that's kind of my new thing right now. And
Nice.
I guess also I should mention I was a nurse, right? I am a nurse technically still. I'm not working as a nurse right now, but I've been a nurse since 2015, worked in psych, mental health nursing, and emergency nursing, and left my nursing career about a year ago. And now I do full-time coaching.
Oh, nice. This is such a good. And how old are you now?
29.
29. Okay, so it was like you were 25 when you started this kind of. When was that big realization that now, or was it like a kind of accident with the challenge? What you said when you started, or was there something already like when you told to yourself that now it's enough, that now you have done everything, and what made you start? Like, what was the.
My friend that challenged me, honestly, she was just like, she wanted to lose weight herself as well. She had a lot of weight to lose. I had a lot of weight to lose. And we are both just, and she came to me about it. She was, she's like, I know you want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. How about we make this a challenge? Like, we're just going to make it kind of fun. Like, every month we'll see who's lost the most amount of weight. And, the other person has to like, buy movie tickets or, dinner or something like that, for the other person. Some type of like fun challenge. The challenge didn't last super long just because I had a whole lot more weight to lose than she did. And so obviously I was losing at a much faster rate. And I didn't want her
Yeah.
to think, like you're failing the challenge, right? Like I wanted her to
Uh-huh.
like she was still losing a lot of weight as well. So we did the challenge just for like just sake of like not getting her, making her feel like she was losing, quote unquote. But that's how it basically started. And from there, like once we started like seeing that momentum and seeing the results and such, it was like, wow, this is actually working.
Mhm.
And we started, just having the extra accountability there, she was, I kind of compare like her accountability was like, an accountability of a coach, basically,
Yeah.
someone like, when you have that hard day, I could go to her and be like, hey, like I skipped the gym today, I'm struggling, or, hey, I'm struggling with my food this week. And we were able to
Mhm.
bounce each other off, bounce ideas off each other and keep each other going.
Yeah. No, because this is it's such an important thing. Like, did you ever in the past had somebody like this kind of accountability thing? You said that you tried many things. Uh, did you try that kind of accountability thing already before, or was this kind of first experience that you had a like, even it was not technically some coach, but basically some coach who was keeping you accountable?
I would say it was probably the first time having some real accountability. I had tried things in the past. My mom had, she's tried to lose weight in the past as well, and I mean, she is currently now losing weight and doing great herself. But like years before, like this before 2019, there would have been years like when we both were like, "Hey, we're gonna get healthier," still living back home and
Mhm.
such. And but I feel like just like when it comes to family, it's hard to like hold each other accountable because
Yeah.
like right, like you love each other, and I feel like
Yeah. Of course.
that's not where like you like you should I feel like the family love's going to come before holding each other
Yeah.
accountable when it comes to your health goals. And so it was kind of harder in that sense, but I would say this time in 2019 was the first time I really had that external accountability outside of family and someone else that was going through this as well.
Yeah, no, it's I totally like it's like I could not imagine to give advice for my wife or like you said that with mom, my mom also or my dad who unfortunately passed away. But I know that even I'm able to maybe help so many other people. But if my mom is asking something, it's not maybe she's trying to get something, but it's still it's you have totally different relationship than with
Exactly.
those who you love the most. And it's kind of same if my wife is she's telling it actually often. If she's trying to tell me something, give me an advice, I'm like, I'm not just, it's like maybe all husbands or men are like that, they are just not listening. They don't care, and then somebody else is giving you exactly the same advice, and then it's coming from a person who you actually respect in that area. Whatever, if it's a fitness, if it's a business wise, whatever, who just exactly the same advice your wife told you like a week ago, and you were like that, I don't care. And then somebody else who you respect in that area is giving you exactly the same advice, and then you are like, now yes, now let's go, let's do this. So this is,
Mhm.
it's so hard to kind of, even deep in your side that maybe there is some idea, but also on the other hand, like especially if it comes to dieting or whatever, if it's a business, you should probably not always take the advice from people who doesn't know what they are talking, what they are doing. And but if it's kind of accountability, like you said, that if you have a friend like what is your, if it's a daily check-in or weekly check-in, that you are like that, I'm doing this, I'm taking care, I went to gym, I hit my step goal today, I did, that is the best accountability you can have, even from
Mhm.
closer ones. Like it's a good example like how I do. Like now I recently started my own fat loss phase for 4 to 5 weeks, and my wife was like that she's actually doing it with me. So now we are both doing exactly the same thing and kind of supporting each other's with the same things. And obviously we are doing probably a little bit different things. I said that I'm creating rules for myself, and those are my rules. You don't need to, you can use those same examples or create your own rules how you want. But what we are helping each other is to keep accountable, that we are actually telling and doing those things what we promise to ourselves. And this kind of accountability, it's so important. I think that if your family member or loved ones are with you and supporting you with your goals, because if you for example, if you try to lose weight and your spouse is next to you snacking all the time or getting like that and asking you that, do you want more chocolate or cookies or snacks, and I'm going to get something for myself, and it's so hard if you don't have that kind of support from your spouse.
Yeah, you have to have that support system. And you know, but also I will say, I always like to add this because I have a couple of clients that, you know, thankfully a lot of my clients have that support system in their house, you know, their spouse or significant other, but there are some that don't, right? Like, and I feel like that's where like you have to, at some point you have to take some ownership for yourself, right? Like
For sure.
You can't necessarily put the blame all on the significant other or the spouse, because I've talked to some clients in the past and they're like, yeah, my husband, you know, he comes home and you know, he's ordering pizza out, and then you know, then he's asking me to eat pizza, or he's asking me to order takeout with him, or he wants to go to eat all the time. And I'm like, at some point you have to do what's going to make you happy. Like, what is going to help you reach your goals? Because nobody is going to want this bad enough than you. Like, even me as your coach, like, I may want it bad for you, but if you don't want it bad for yourself, you're not going to change. And so you have to start taking that ownership and accountability for yourself, and being okay with maybe having some of those tougher conversations and letting your significant other know like how they can best support you. And if that is, you know, through nutrition or, you know, working out or things like that, if they're going to be on board and support you, fantastic. But if they're not, you could use that as an excuse and not do it. But at the end of the day, it's only hurting yourself.
Yeah.
So you have to take that ownership for yourself and say, you know what, maybe my significant other isn't going to support me through this, but I want this bad enough, so I'm going to go ahead and do this anyways. And regardless of what they're going to say. And yes, it can be more difficult because, you know, if they're ordering pizza and they're bringing pizza in the house and you want pizza, like, you may have to say, you know, no sometimes, or maybe you know, have one slice and stop at that. Like, you're going to have to make these tough decisions. And at the end of the day, you know, and then if you don't have the internal accountability of like somebody in your house, I would also encourage people to find that external accountability and support system.
Absolutely.
You know, lean out to, I mean, thankfully, you know, we live in a day and age now where like communication's at the highest it can be, you know, like social media and such. Like, post on social media if you want to, find a Facebook group, find a friend or a coworker or somebody you can reach out to and find that support system. It doesn't always have to come from a spouse.
No, absolutely not. And it's obvious, like all what you said. Or if you are someone who is able to hire a coach or somebody who is like really telling you like what to do, keeping you accountable, and also going like a little bit deeper on why you are actually doing those things, so you understand where those your behaviors are coming from, and then solving those underlying issues kind of first before going to those methods what you supposed to be doing to get to that next level, or creating that better, healthier lifestyle what you are actually looking for. So what is like you said that was the starting point, and you started to see some kind of results, and you talked like that it was kind of losing weight, and you had a competition about like with your friend who is losing more weight. And what kind of, like, what do you think now about that kind of ways to keep yourself accountable, like if you are trying to compare like how much you are losing weight, and that was 2019, so now you have a little bit more experience. If you look back, what do you think about that kind of thing?
I guess it's kind of twofold. Like, I like it because, I mean, let's be honest, like that's what got me started in all this. And I don't know if I would be where I'm at today if she wouldn't have approached me for that challenge. That being said, but I also know, I think that's why I think it was great to fire up that momentum and get that rolling. But at some point it was like, all right, obviously this is not a fair challenge, right? Like I'm losing much faster than she is. So that's why we eventually just kind of like ditched the challenge, and we didn't really like make a big deal of it. It wasn't like we're stopping the challenge on this day. It was more just like we just let it phase out because we were both doing so great. That was like, I like to say, like that was like the match that lit the fire on everything else, right? Like that's what got everything started and building that momentum. We're both seeing wins. Great. Now that we don't need that challenge necessarily anymore. Like the challenge introduced all of this to us. So now we're able to use this extra accountability that we have instead of using like the challenge as as the motivator. That makes sense?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because I was just thinking, like, because usually, if you are starting like that to compete with somebody who is going to lose most weight, and then how it's going to make you feel like, and obviously, like, I never had, to be honest, I don't have. That's why I'm asking you, and I'm here learning how it feels, and because what usually almost always happens at some point, it's going to, that your progress is going to be slower. You might not see scale going down, and if that is everything what you are comparing, is that you compare to your friend or family member or somebody else in online, you will always find somebody who is doing better, who is doing faster.
Yes.
And then when you are starting to search kind of that faster way, that now I'm losing, in the beginning you lost, I don't know how much you lost, but let's say you lose 5 pounds per week in the beginning, or pound per day, whatever. And then at some point it's going to be like that, now I'm losing, what I'm doing wrong, I'm losing only 2 pounds per week. And then at some point it's, now I'm losing only 1 pound per week. And how you are overcoming that kind of like that, now your progress is getting slower. And because then it often leads that you are starting to use methods which are then not anymore unsustainable, and just eating even less or doing more workouts which are leading that your energy levels are getting low, and it's not going to be sustainable. It's going to be a matter of time before you binge. Did you have any that kind of experience when you were doing that in the beginning, or was it just straightforward, you were making progress and celebrating your wins?
No, I mean, I definitely had the times when like the things slowed down, or I mean, I will say I had pretty consistent, like me personally had a lot of consistent results for the first like good while. I mean, I would say I didn't really start hitting a quote unquote like plateau until like maybe around like July or August was when I started really noticing starting to slow down a lot. But like again, like it all kind of goes back to like, and I want to just preface this because I know people are listening. You know, obviously I was almost 400 pounds, so I had a lot of weight to lose, and so I was being super consistent in the very beginning, and so that's why I was able to pretty much lose consistently until July or August when things started slowing down. And that's when I ended up actually hiring my first coach was in August once things did slow down. It was like, hey, like, what am I doing wrong? At least I started to think I was doing something wrong. And it wasn't necessarily that I was doing something. Well, I was doing something wrong because I was under eating a lot more less than I probably should have. And that's why, towards the beginning of the summer, he had told me, he was like, eventually you're going to need to start increasing your calories back up. And, you can't stay at this low amount of calories forever. And so it was hard to start to see progress slow down. But that's when I started just educating myself and also, learning more from the coach as well about like the importance of going through this entire process and respecting the journey that it was going to take, and realizing that like you can't make all of this progress overnight, and you can't make all this progress at once. Like you have to go through these phases, and sure, you could probably keep pushing harder and harder and eventually get to your goal, but like at some point you are going to crash and burn, right? So like you have to learn to respect that journey and take it in chunks as you go along. But that's like, I will say, once I started working calories up, for a while I was starting to see still some great progress. Like, I think it's something where, a lot of people are very skeptical in the very beginning. And, I know when he first told me like, hey, you got to start increasing your calories, I was like, are you crazy? Like I'm seeing great results. I don't want to increase my calories. And as I started to, I was starting to see better results. And it's also because it increases compliance, right? Like after you've been on so low calories for so long, like your compliance is going to start slipping and you're not going to be feeling as great. But as we were working calories back up, we got closer to, we probably didn't hit true maintenance by the end of the year, but we were definitely, I was probably eating like anywhere from like 1,1600 calories in the very beginning. As somebody who's 400 pounds, that's why I lost so quickly. And by the end of the year, we were close to like 2,250, 2,500 calories.
Wow. Yeah, because this is something like what I do also a lot. And I had a couple podcast episodes with my clients who we went through this phase, and well, I just remember a quick story. Like it's kind of similar than yours. Like I had a Lucas. Lucas was also a young man, and started like exactly the same like you. And I think it was more or less timeline was even the same. Like started in the beginning of the year, made it until summer, everything was going perfectly, and then coming to me, we started to work together. It was in situation eating like you said, more or less same amount than you, 1,000, 3,400 calories, and there was almost no progress, no results. Obviously workouts were not going well. And then when we started to work together, like exactly like you, that starting to add actually calories, and goes the worst thing. One thing what I told like to him, that like you don't want to believe me, but now at this point, was he was at the same time he was still working really hard. I don't know how much you worked out, but he was in situation that having like a 4, 5, 6 workouts per week, obviously not making any progress in workouts, and at the same time eating very little, not seeing any progress. And obviously how you are feeling, you are so frustrated because you work so hard but don't see any results. And then when I told what we are going to do, that we are actually going to raise your calories, reduce your workouts, and he was like that, holy shit, man, now you got me scared. Like was
Yeah.
that what you have learned through all your life, like that you want to lose weight, you have to do more workouts, you have to eat less, and that's how things are working. But that magic is that when it's going, if you are doing, like our bodies are so good at adapting on everything, like it's either workouts or either nutrition, like amount of calories you are eating, and then how to get out of it. Like if you can't imagine to reduce your calories more or do more workouts, or when it's not sustainably possible, then you actually how to get out. Like you said, you go on opposite direction, and that is the scariest part, to go like that. Now you are starting to eat more, and like in you said in your example, and like it was same in Lucas, like that what actually started to happen, like I don't know, did you gain some weight in the beginning when you started to eat more? Do
No,
you
I mean
remember?
I when I was first starting, I mean I was still seeing great results. I mean, my maintenance was probably, I mean my maintenance level now is, 3,100 calories. And so like, I
Yeah.
had a good ways to work up before
Oh
I
yeah,
was,
yeah. Yeah,
so
oh, absolutely. But it's still like that. That what is like, if that maintenance, let's say that it should be 2,500, 3,000, but you are eating 1,000, 3,400. You are not seeing any progress. Obviously, even you raise your calories, but in the beginning, usually even you are eating, when you are eating so little, and in a short time you are raising your calories, let's say 200, 300 calories per week, your scale weight might actually go up.
mhm,
And then even when you keep, and that is the point where most people are usually like that, they are panicking, like you
yep,
are like it's when you go, or what happens often for those people who are like kind of dieters for life, and then always what happens, they go out for one weekend, or overeat on weekend, or eat a bit more than usually, and then scale is going up, and then
yep,
they panic, and they go even lower calories, and then that's, you are never giving chance to your body to actually adapt. And that was that Lucas thing we started. It really needs a trust for that process, and keep going no matter what, because it's not that you are still in a calorie deficit. If you are working your calories up, it takes some time. And it was like you said in your case, and it was in Lucas, and there were so many other, but it's just reminding me from your story, was that Lucas, and when we started to actually work out less, so less stress to your body, at the same
mhm,
time adding more calories, he started to actually lose weight. And he was like,
mhm.
holy shit, man, I can't believe you. I can't believe what is just happening, that I'm actually starting to see progress when I'm eating more and working out less in that point. And this is kind of that reverse dieting, and a kind of understanding that fat loss, it's not always straightforward, just eating less, moving more, that you have to include at least in some point those kind of maintenance breaks, diet breaks, or adding more calories to that your metabolism is not adapting. It makes in long term that all your journey so much easier. So was it, how did you then, how long you were in a maintenance when you hit that your first weight loss plateau?
Um, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I want to say it was roughly maybe 4, 5, 6 months ish.
Okay.
I still had a good bit of weight to lose. So like we didn't have
Yeah.
to go as long at maintenance for me.
Uh-huh.
It's a little bit different scenario than somebody who's, already pretty low.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started another deficit then afterwards.
Yeah, because this is actually, it's, I don't know about you, but for me, I get so often questions like that, that I'm eating very little calories, and now I need to raise my calories. That I raise my calories for a week or two, and I'm like that. Week or
Need a little
two.
longer.
It's you don't want to hear it, but you need to hear that. It takes, unfortunately, a lot longer, because usually it's not, it's a different for each person, but I would say that it takes at least a couple of months, like depending how long you have been eating very little calories, and what kind of progress you have had. But it takes, it's not done in a week or two, unfortunately. That it takes a little bit longer. But then when you are going through that process, and it's not that you are still in a deficit, it doesn't mean that you are going to gain some weight. And I think that is the biggest scare what people have at this point, is that when they start to eat more, they are going to gain all lost weight back, and that's the kind of holding them back to eating more, and then they keep going and doing the same things what made them to lose weight, and you are never actually, you are scared to eat more. Did you have that kind of fear, or what? Or I'm sure you had. So tell a little bit about that fear you had.
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely in the very beginning, like when I was told to start increasing calories, I was very skeptical. Obviously, it's like you said, like we're so used to eat less, move more kind of mentality. And
Yeah,
when someone's telling you need to start eating more, it's like you're crazy. Like I don't need to do
yeah,
that. Like that doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
Um, but I think what helped is like like you said, like a lot, not everybody, but some people who started to increase calories and working out less, you actually start to see some better results even. And I think
Oh
that's what
yeah.
helped me kind of like motivate me a little bit more to like, all
Hmm.
right, I should trust this process because it's working. Right.
Hmm.
But yes, I was definitely very skeptical to eat more. But I
Hmm.
also knew I mean, I had to have this like tough conversation with my coach where he basically told me, he was like, we can keep going down the same route you're going and cutting calories lower and lower and lower, but it's not going to be sustainable. But
Yeah.
if you actually want to work these calories up to a healthier level and find your true maintenance, then you're going to be able to sustain this long term.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And this is the hardest part to understand, because you are, usually you are in so hurry that
Mm-hmm.
this is, you don't want to take, because you have, especially like you said, that you had still fat to lose, and it's in your mind, you are telling that no way I'm going to eat more, and because it's I'm going back where I was, and that's, I'm refusing to do it. But
Yep.
then if you like you said, if you keep going that bad, eating less and less, moving more, trying to do more, it's going to, at some point, it's not going to work anymore, and it's
Mm-hmm.
only a matter of time before you can do it. And this is, I think that's the hardest part, and the people who are in this point, I think, I had a Sylvia who said that the best advice, what she can only say, that don't try to do this alone. Like this is the hardest part. Like you have so many
Mm-hmm.
questions, you have so many insecurities during this process, that get somebody who knows what they are doing, and get some help, because it's going to be, and like you said, that how it's actually, what is motivating you, what is the reason why you should be doing it, is that when you start eating more, it's not only that you are not going to gain fat. What is actually happening, like you said, that you are going to actually start seeing better results in your
Mm-hmm.
workouts, and then when you are giving, like, it's the, I think, how could I say it, like the simplest way, when I try to explain it to my clients, is that if you want to, for example, you want to build muscle, get stronger, at the
Mm-hmm.
same time when you do it, and muscle to be able to get stronger or build, it needs more energy. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, if you think signals what you are telling to your body, you are not giving that energy, so you don't give even chance, even you work so hard. So what is happening, it's causing, then your body is under stress, you are under stress, and when you are actually giving then that more energy to your body, which is still, you are still in a calorie deficit, you still eat less than your body needs, but at the same time your body starts to use this energy. You are seeing more energy in your workouts, you are seeing progress, you are maybe able to build some muscle mass, and plus that you are more active, not necessarily just a step account, but all kind of like when you are talking, when you are moving, how you are using your facial impressions, stuff like that, they are increasing and at the same time when you are eating more, and at the same time you probably are needing that more energy, that energy going out is going to increase at the same time when you feed your body, and this is going through this process that's so hard for to do it alone.
Yeah,
so
you need go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna agree. Like, I feel like that's you need someone to have an objective point of view for this, because
Yeah.
it's so easy when you start or when you start hearing like increased calories, and you may increase your calories. Well, then if the scale spikes a little bit one day, you might want to pull back on calories and go back into a deficit. Whereas, if you have that external person, whether it's a coach or somebody that knows what they're talking about, they're able to help coach you through that and help you realize like, hey, that's normal. Like, that's going to happen. But here's why we're doing it. And once you keep doing it, you'll start seeing the results you're wanting.
Yeah, it's all about like that's like I think for you when you had a coach, it's that the first thing what I ask from my clients, for example, is that you have to, I'm asking a lot, I'm asking that you are trusting me, you are trusting when we are going through this process, that no matter, because if you have insecurities, like you said, that scale is going up or something weird is happening, you are feeling that you are getting fat, which probably is not the case, but it could be that you are feeling, and then it's so important to monitor your progress during this time, that it's not that you are not, and if you let's say that if you are using, like for example, reverse dieting, you are adding couple like 100-200 calories per week more, it's not that you are not doing any big damage. Let's say that in the worst possible case, if all those calories would be fat, you are not gaining in a 2 weeks, not even a pound of fat. So it's not going to change anything. But when you are monitoring, you have other ways than only scale weight to monitor your progress, about your energy levels, everything. There is nothing, you are not in the worst case, you are not making too big damage. So then little bit how all this, like when you obviously your health have improved, did you monitor any, was it only about scale weight in the beginning, or did you have some other like kind of health issues when you had a lot of overweight, or what have changed after you have lost weight?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that have changed. I mean, blood markers have improved. I used to have sleep apnea and sleep with the CPAP machine, and I no longer have that anymore.
Wow.
I was on different medications. One of the ones I used to be on was a blood pressure and heart rate medication, because my heart rate used to live like the 120s at baseline. And
Wow.
so they gave me a medication, metoprolol, and I was on that for a while, a small dose of that. And eventually had to take that off. And now my resting heart rate can be anywhere like in the 60s, or sometimes even lower sometimes.
Wow.
So I mean, that's
That's so
improved.
great. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's it's not, I can't say that it's only improved. It's, you are like a totally different person.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, those things have improved. Like just, body composition's improved, like, and I'm also just getting much stronger, like, especially now within this last year, almost a year now of, working on powerlifting, like I've been able to like increase my strength. Like I've gone through different phases throughout this process, like at first I will say it definitely started as like, hey, how much weight can I lose? And then it was like, oh, okay, like I'm actually feeling better now, because I feel like a lot of times, and a lot of people, I think a lot of people could relate to this, that are overweight. You may feel okay and you may think you feel fine, but you really don't know what good feels like until you
Oh
actually
yeah.
feel good. And
Yeah.
so, in most of my life, I thought I felt fine. Like I was like, oh yeah, I have enough energy. Like I'm sleeping okay. Like I kept telling myself that I was fine. But once I actually started to feel what good feels like, it's like, okay, this is much different.
Yeah.
And so you start feeling better just like that way. And so like I said, it started with like fat loss. Then it was like, all right, let's just start, I'm feeling much better. Then it's like I'm improving my health, starting to come off some medications, starting,
Hmm.
just getting better checkups from the doctor, blood work's improving. And
Hmm.
now I've, shifted away from so much like, like the weight loss side of things. And now I'm focused more on like the strength gain. I am currently in a deficit right now, but for the last, like, since like July until about like a month ago, it was all about gaining phase and focusing more on strength.
Wow. And are you, what kind of current goals you have at the moment? Like if you think in long term, like now, obviously, I love this, what you are doing, like that you've focused like different kind of phases, but in a long term, where you want to be in, let's say in 5 years from now.
It's a great question. I think, ideally, obviously I'm wanting to lose weight. I'd love to, have a better physique, but also still maintaining my strength. I mean, I'm very proud of the strength that I've been able to obtain throughout this last gaining phase.
Mhm.
But I do want to, lose some body fat and be able to maintain as much muscle mass as I am able to.
Yeah, but you don't have any like a numeric goals that you need to have a 100, 200 pounds or whatever.
No, I mean, I, I really don't put a whole lot of value to the scale anymore.
Uh,
I I don't really set number goals anymore.
yeah,
It's more so like, how do I look? How do I feel? Am I happy
yeah,
where I'm at? Am I confident? Do I have like that food freedom? Do I feel like I'm able
yeah,
to enjoy life? And I don't really want to be as super lean that I can't go out and have, drinks with friends, or, I can't,
hmm,
go out and, get ice cream with my niece or something when I'm in town.
yeah,
I want to be able to enjoy those kinds of things in life and not worry about being super, super lean all the time. Like that's not my
yeah,
concern. And, you know, I, I don't ever see myself in like, the body with the six pack abs, anything like that. Like
yeah,
nothing wrong with it. If people
yeah,
want to sustain that lifestyle, by all means, it's great. But
yeah,
that's just not for me. Like me
yeah.
personally, it's like I want to be as strong as I can,
Hmm.
but also to be as healthy as I can as well.
Yeah, no, because I feel exactly the same as you. Like obviously, we both have a different backgrounds, but I don't I know what it takes to get like six pack abs or something. And even I'm
Mm-hmm.
not now doing some sort of fat loss phase for myself. It's more like a kind of trying things, and because I love to do kind of experiments and how things are working, what is actually possible. Because but in the long term, I enjoy being in a maintenance. I love feeling good. I enjoy doing my workouts, getting stronger, doing hikes and things what I love doing. And when I'm able to do these things, and also what is for me is important is that to age healthier, and it's to be able to do these things 40, 50 years from now. As being now 41, it's a goal what is lot bigger for me than to have some visible apps for
Mm-hmm.
uh, short moment and then being maybe unhappy but looking good at pictures or going to the beach. But it's I know that it's not going to. I don't give a shit for that now, and especially not in 20 years. So.
Yeah.
But these things are changing. Like when I was in my 20s, I thought that it's the only thing I wanted to get visible apps or whatever. But
Yep.
now things have totally changed. So is there like a what kind of like what things you are able to do now more than what you now understand that you wasn't maybe in realizing it when you had a lot of overweight and you were not able to do, and now what you realize that, wow, holy shit, I'm able to do those things what I would never imagine that they are possible.
Um, so I think, and I want to kind of preface this a little bit with, I think it's a little bit kind of like two different directions. Like one, I think both like physically capable of doing now, and then also there was a lot of things when I was growing up, being overweight that I held myself back from doing. Like,
Hmm.
I always thought, I was going to be living in Virginia my entire life and, growing up
Hmm.
there and just going to stay there basically. And
Yeah.
like once I started to lose weight, I gained a lot more confidence, and, I started traveling nursing. I started moving around
Hmm.
different areas and, doing a lot more things out of and getting more out of my life. And but like from a physical standpoint, like now, like I enjoy like going for a hike and doing things that I enjoy. Like, I was in Arizona a couple weeks ago for a conference for coaching, and my boss and I, we went for a hike, up, one of the mountains there, and like years ago, like I would have never like one, like I would have never wanted to do it. And honestly, I don't even know if I really
Yeah.
could have done it. Like I probably could have, but like, even things like, when I was living out in Colorado for a while, I went and hiked, this huge set of mountains that like things like I would have
Yeah.
never done in the past. Like a couple years ago, my coach and I, we went skydiving for like a
Yeah.
time, just
Wow.
doing things that like I never thought myself was capable of doing and or would want to do.
Uh-huh.
It's just, weight loss has not only opened up a lot of doors physically, but it's also just opened up a lot of like confidence and
Yeah.
feeling like I'm able to do these things and enjoy life a lot more. And also just to add, like being able to just enjoy life without fearing that, I'm going to be like
Mhm.
derail my entire progress. Like the old
Yes.
me, like, years ago would have thought, oh, going out for dinner and drinks with friends would ruin your progress. New me
Yeah.
now knows like, hey, I can go out and have a great time or go to a concert with some
Uh-huh.
friends and not worry about losing any progress and just go back to your normal routine the next day.
Yeah, no, this is exactly the mindset shift, and what is usually like what I just some guy wrote me actually it was today, like a couple hours ago, before we record this episode. He said that he have been following me for like this is kind of like that, I don't get too many messages or anything, and then out of nowhere, you never had a conversation with some person, and he is just writing that thank you, you have changed my life, and said that
Mm-hmm.
within past 18 or 15 months, 16 months, he have lost 40 kilos, so which is like almost 100
Wow.
pounds. And
Yeah.
going from like changing everything, like and improving, like exactly you said, how you said it, like that improving all like a blood work, blood pressure, uh, heart like a that heartbeat, resting heartbeat, lost a lot of weight, and all that led that so much more self-confidence. So that
Mm-hmm.
it's and I said that it's this is exactly like it doesn't matter which way you do it. If you are struggling that you don't have a lot of self-confidence, how to get it is that you start to do something. And often like what I would say, I don't know about you, like obviously it's we all have different, like it was you need to get started. But when you start to improve your health, and you let's say that it could be a goal, like if you don't want to lose weight necessarily, or you get mindset that it's going to be like I don't want to be too much on that weight loss, but if you are starting to improve your health, you are, let's say you want to decrease your resting heartbeat, improve your blood work, improve your blood pressure, and when those markers, when they get better, you are improving your health, or you are improving your strength. And then those are usually when you are able to improve those markers, you are starting losing weight, or you are, as an effect of losing those, you are losing weight. And that all is leading that your self-confidence is getting, as a side effect, a total different level.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the there weight loss is great, but like there's so much more behind that. Like I feel like a lot of people get into this for the weight loss side of things, but once you start like unlocking all those doors and just you're able to do so much more with life, but outside of what the scale's telling you.
Yeah. So you said you had a lot of like kind of struggles. What kind of struggles, setbacks you have had during this journey?
Yeah, so I mean, like when I look at like my struggles, like it's definitely been, I've gone through a lot of like mindset shifts and just like
Mm-hmm.
working through like the identity work and like understanding like that I'm capable of changing. Like there's a lot of like lack of self worth or lack of self confidence or
Mm-hmm.
trying to build up a lot of these things that I feel like that I wasn't sure if I could ever do. So it's building that confidence up, but then also like I mentioned I had a history of binge eating, and that's
Mm-hmm.
something that I had to work through a lot of throughout my leading up into the start of my journey, but then also I've had a couple relapses here and there throughout my
Mm-hmm.
journey,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just been something I've had to really work through. Um and I think it's something that another thing, this is also kind of like just another like mindset shift I've had recently, is like realizing that progress doesn't always mean black or white. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you're, and I'll use the example of binge eating, so that's something I mentioned. Like, it doesn't mean like you'll never, and I tell clients this all the time, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you're never going to binge again. It just means
Yeah.
maybe you are going to have fewer binges. Maybe you have more time in between them. Maybe they're less. Maybe they are, maybe you catch yourself, mid binge. Like there's so many other forms of progress inside of this journey. And so these are some things that I've had to work through myself through my own personal journey. And, it's definitely been tough at times. Like, and there's been, I've never had the feeling of like, I'm giving up. Like that's just never crossed my mind. Like I know I'm never going to go back to where I was, but there have been times when I've really struggled. And during those times, I've really gotten through it by just like, I've learned, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a coach now, but I've learned through coaching like hiring my own coaching coaches. Whenever you're struggling with something, it's best to reach out to find your support system, find who's gonna help you through that process. So there was times when, like I said, I mentioned earlier, like I've worked with a binge eating coach. There's times when, when I'm struggling, I reach out to my coaches and let them know that I'm really struggling with X, Y, or Z, and we work through it. We find like resources that's gonna help me get through that. I'm reading, educating myself. I am, going to therapy. Like I'm finding who is really good at solving that problem that I'm struggling with, and how can they help me. And that's like my goal now is like anytime I'm faced with a struggle, it's like, great, identify it, create that awareness around it, but then don't just sit there and dwell in it, but like find who can help you with that situation. And so that's what I've had to really do recently is just like lean on the support systems around me, find out who can help me with these things, and just double down on that.
What that's curious, what you have done for binge eating? What was the like how did you overcome from it, or how did you improve it?
Yeah, and so it's been a couple of different things. Like, one, like couple of the big things that have helped me is identifying a specific meal structure or meal timing, I should say. I'm someone who I prefer to have, 2 or 3 meals a day rather than kind of snacking throughout the day, because one of the triggers for me was like if I'm not feeling full, if I'm just like always feeling a little bit hungry, then sometimes I end up snacking more, and that's when it can turn into a binge. And so I've had to realize, I'd rather fill up at a meal and stop eating, and then wait until the next meal, and then fill up at that meal, and then wait to the next meal. And so that's one thing that's helped me. Also just like learning other ways to cope with emotions and such. I know that's something a lot of people struggle with, and I was one of them, is emotional eating. And so it's learning to cope with those feelings better, finding ways to either distract yourself or, catch yourself in the moment. One technique that really helped me, and I learned this from a book I read called The Binge Code. It was called Zen 10. And basically this is a technique where in the moment when you feel like you're getting ready to have a binge, or you feel like you're struggling or leaning down that direction, it's try to snap out of it for like a quick second and say Zen 10. And it doesn't have to be that word, but like that's just what they call it. And basically during that time, your first step is removing yourself away from the source of the food. So whether if get out of the kitchen, if you're at work and you're in the break room, get out of the break room where all the food's at, like remove yourself away from the food source in that moment, and then find a distraction for yourself for those 10 minutes. That's where the Zen 10 comes in. And whether it's, going to just like do another chore or something on your to-do list, whether it's, meditation, breath work, journaling, reading, scrolling on TikTok. I don't care what it is, like whatever it is that you enjoy, that's something that you can get your mind off of that food source for 10 minutes. But also during that time, reconsider why you're leaning towards that food source. You're basically creating that time barrier for yourself to really reconsider, why am I reaching for this food? Is this more so I'm hungry, or is it I'm leaning towards this to try to numb something else I'm currently experiencing? And so at the end of that 10 minutes, that's when you can do a couple of different things. You could either, one, say, I actually am hungry, so I'm going to have something to eat, but I'm going to maybe make a more conscious decision rather than leaning for, the whole tray of Oreos. I'm going to actually have a meal and actually have, some protein and some veggies, something like that. Or maybe you say, I'm not too sure yet. I'm still kind of debating in my head what I really need right now. Maybe give yourself another 10 minutes. Or maybe at the end of the 10 minutes, you're like, you know what? I've worked through it. I was going through some emotions. I've worked through that now. I don't need the food. I'm good. And you can move on throughout the rest of your day.
Yeah. Awesome. No, I love to hear these all kind of strategies. And it's as going through, like, first of all, it's so important. Like I had a past episodes couple with talking exactly this, going like what is that underlying issues for emotional eating, and it's always same that pattern. You have first have to become aware when it's happening, become aware what you are doing, and then obviously thinking where it is coming from. Is there some emotion like underlying issue? What is if it's a if it's either stressed, bored, whatever, anxious, eating, what kind of emotion, and if you are coping those emotions with food, you have a problem, and that is to get out of that pattern. It's not like you said that it's not straightforward that just do this and it's gone, but there are so many ways how to do it, and so many different strategies. But before going to those strategies, it's really understanding why it's happening and when it's happening, and then starting to those implement those strategies. Which I obviously I love this example that 10 minutes it's basically just winning time, somehow winning time
Yep.
between that action and becoming aware, and then making, after that time have passed, making that decision that if it's for what do I really need it. And even if that time is past, I would still add to your list that if you still feel after 10 minutes you still want to have the rest of the Oreos, then go for it. Then you
Yeah, for
always
sure.
give that kind of opportunity for yourself that, I did everything, I still want to have it. It was the thing what I wanted. As that, then it's time, go for it, and don't
Well,
feel worried about it.
yeah, and I would that's actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was when I forgot to leave. I left off an accident. But no, like that's another thing. It's like maybe you do decide to have that food, but maybe you have a
Yeah.
more controlled portion of it. Rather than instead of having 20 Oreos, maybe you're like, all right, cool. Actually, I do want Oreos. I'm gonna have 3 rather than
Yeah.
the entire pack.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No,
it's
exactly.
definitely something to add on to there.
That's exactly. And this is something like what you mentioned earlier, is that you need to want to get out of this by yourself, that there is nobody else, like what we talked earlier, that what was it for you, like from inside of you, what made you to understand that now I really need to do this for myself? Was there some kind of turning point for you? What was your motivation, that ultimate thing why you said this is important for me?
I think it was just like I knew I was holding myself back from so many things in my life. And so it was like if once I started to get once I was able to like crack open that door and see what's on the other side of that, I
Mhm.
was like, I want more of that. So it
Mhm.
wasn't really like in the beginning, like I said, my motivator in the very beginning was the challenge. That's how it all started.
Mhm.
Um, but once I got to start seeing some of that success and seeing what I was capable of, and actually proving to my older identity that I was possible of going through this change,
Mhm.
I saw what life was like on the other side. And I was like, I want more of that. I want to be able to do the things I
Yeah.
want. I don't want my body to hold me back, physically, mentally, emotionally. Like there are so many things that I'm capable of doing that once
Mhm.
I got a taste of that, I wanted more of it. And that's what has continued to fuel me more and not give up on myself, is because I know I'm capable of so much more out there.
Yeah, I love that. And what was like really interesting, what I found, like that you said that you focus always on different kind of things like that. Now you said that you have worked, you are in a fat loss phase, then you worked on maintenance. Now you focus kind of, you have powerlifting competition. Uh, how these kind of, how you are planning, if you are thinking like now, like for next, let's say 6 months or year, if you, what kind of things, what kind of plans you have, or do you have, are you a person who is like, it sounds to me that you are kind of person who need to have some kind of goal in front of you, who is working like, now it's going to be this powerlifting. In the beginning it was like that weight loss challenge, it's going to be
Mhm.
30 or 60 days, and then it was something else, and now you are at that phase that you have kind of powerlifting thing. And tell a little bit what how you set those goals, or what kind of goals you
Yeah.
have.
So when it comes to that goals, I think it's really important for everyone to have some sort of goals in mind, right? Like, and it doesn't have to be anything very, like, it doesn't have to be an event. Like, it doesn't have to be a competition. It doesn't have to be a challenge.
Mhm.
Like, but I do think it's important to have some sort of goal behind your motivator, like the reason to
Mhm.
keep you going, and like what are you working towards? If you're working towards nothing, then it's gonna be hard to keep you going. And so
Yeah.
I I don't really necessarily have concrete goals. Like I always have like in the back of my mind, like some like, you know, kind of like some things I'm thinking about. But for like, I mean, for like right now, example, like, you know, I'm currently going through a deficit. I don't know exactly how long I'll be in this deficit for. Um, you know, we kind of, you know, that's why I have a coach. You know, we work through it, you know, week to week and kind of make adjustments as we need to. And then I am planning on competing again and getting out on the platform again for another powerlifting competition. I don't know exactly when yet. It might be in the fall this year or early next spring. But I do want to compete again. And that just keeps me motivated to continue to make progress and in all areas, right? Like,
Yeah.
but also, I don't know. I mean, like I have, you know, life goals, you know, being able to like, you know, go and like travel and do things I want to do and go see family and friends and go to like the, you know, the concerts or do the fun things in life that, you know, I really enjoy, but also have my health goals in mind as well, where like I want to be able to, you know, continue to compete in powerlifting competitions. Like I'm not done giving that up yet. I've only competed once. I know I still have a lot more progress to make.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be the best, you know, I know I'm not going to be the best in powerlifting, but like that's not my goal right now. My goal is just
Yeah.
like be the best I can be, beat
Yeah.
myself for my last competition.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what's motivated me next for like my health goals go is like drop some weight right now and then look at start signing up for another competition, you know, in the future, you know, whether like I said, this fall or next spring.
And what you do in those days when you don't feel motivated? What is there? Have you ever thought that why are you going? What is that? What you tell to yourself that what is? Do you have some fear, or what you tell to yourself when you don't feel like doing the work? What you know that you need to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be a little bit different for everybody, but I think when I have those days when I'm, and of course, I have definitely have those days where I'm just like, I don't want to do anything. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we all have
Yeah.
them,
Yeah. Yeah. For
and so
sure.
when I have them, it's more so like, what's the one thing I can do today? Like, even if it's not gonna be a perfect day, like even if I'm not, maybe I do decide to skip a gym workout. Maybe I do decide to, you know, have the burger and fries tonight instead of sticking to my nutrition goals. But like, what is one thing I can do? That's when you have to start getting rid of that all or nothing mindset. Because if you are constantly falling into that all or nothing where it's like, you know, I'm either 100% on or 100% off, that's when people struggle. But it's
Yeah.
like, if I'm going to have a day, like, you know, for example, like I said, like, if I want to go have the burger and fries for dinner and I know I'm not going to hit my calorie goals for the day, then maybe I'll still make sure I go get a walk in today at least. Or maybe I'll make sure, you know, I take some moments today to just kind of like do some like self reflection. Or, you know, maybe I do go get a workout in. Or maybe if I'm, you know, if I have to skip the gym today because I'm busy with work meetings, maybe then I'll make sure I'm gonna at least hit my nutrition for the day. So it's all or something rather than all or nothing, is what I look at when it comes to that.
I love it. It's exactly the same way what I how I think. Like obviously for me, we like you said, we have all different motivation. My motivation, ultimate motivation, is my dad. That is, it's coming from really deep. Like I really had to do like kind of test for myself and go really deep on my thoughts and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it came like a I figured out that it's like my dad passed away at the age of 70 and was struggling. Like lifespan and span were not the same thing. So he was really past 10 years of his life. Even he was still here physically. It was not life quality. What he had was not really great. And that is like that. That's the holy shit that I have. If I think it's 20 years from now, I have 20 years left if I want to be the same. And now this is kind of reminding me that I need to do at least everything I can to be in a better position, to be able to do more things than he was. And this is like, because it's kind of really scary. And how I think it then for myself, that what I need to do, like you said, that if I have a plan, obviously it's not going to be according to plan every time, but I'm making promise to myself at least to get started. If I have a gym workout, like you said, I don't need necessarily to do the whole workout. I need to get started and then do, maybe it's a one, maybe it's a two exercise. If I feel like that I don't feel like doing more, then I'm allowing myself to quit, and I do quit every once in a while. But often it's like when you get yourself into action, then it's so much easier to start doing more. And I love this example what you said. Like this is like that always something, and this is always what people struggle with, all in or nothing. mindset is that it's going to be either 5 times a week or nothing, because it doesn't make any point. But instead, if you ask yourself that what is the kind of minimum thing what you can with confidence say that I'm able to do, and stick with that plan, because life it's going to be busy. If you are waving up with a white towel every time when you get busy time in your work, some of your family member is sick, or kids are sick, or whatever is happening in life, and if that is the first thing you are going to say that, okay, now I don't have time for my fitness. You have time, but it's just a matter of how much. If you say that I have a minute, then do a minute for your health, or for something what knows that is benefiting you. But and if you don't have that minute or 5 minutes time, then it's just not high enough priority for you.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Exactly.
Yeah, I love those examples. I love this. And time went, I think we could keep going for another hour easily, but just trying to keep this around 1 hour maximum. So, Chase, how people tell about your coaching, where to find you from social media, how if somebody want to work with you. So feel free to share everything you want to share.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks again for having me. This has been a great conversation, and I definitely have to get you on my show as well, for sure.
I would love it.
Yes. So that's the Chasing Health podcast. Everyone go check that out. And then also, if you want to work with me, I'm working with Chris Bielhin now. He's the guy I work with. We work with Conquer Fitness and Nutrition. You can find me on Instagram at changing_chase. And then the link in the bio has all the information, our Facebook group, podcast, all the connections there.
Awesome. I will add those to show notes, and thank you again for being here, and talk to you soon.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you.